Bellator 214 is this weekend, and it's going to be a good one. You have the MMA legend Fedor Emelianenko versus their light heavyweight champ Ryan Bader. I'm excited. Let's do this.
They're here.
Welcome to the Hook J Podcast.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
When it's all said and done, I know one thing that I can do. I can fight. I can give it, and I can take it.
You should have left me over on that other game that I'm from, that more ruthless game where we bounce heads off the canvas and drill them into the floor. You should have left me where I was.
The show starts now.
Bellator 214 has several great fights on it. We're going to talk about the main event. The main event being the legend of Fedor Emelianenko, which I'm sure I butchered his last name, versus Ryan Bader. Now, Ryan, in my opinion, is a criminally underrated light heavyweight champ. I know, that's insane, right? A lot of people wouldn't put him up there, but I do. Reason being because the skill and the pressure he puts on people. He has proven in Bellator that he is one of the top guys, not only in his weight class, but in the one above it. He's fought two contenders in the heavyweight Grand Prix to make it this far, eliminating King Mo first and then Matt Mitrione. Both were great fights, proving two different things. One of them being that Ryan Bader does possess the power to knock someone out. He does have that power, especially at that weight. The other being that he also retains his cardio. He was able to push Matt Mitrione to a point where he dominated him the whole fight. And Mitrione was tired, and he came in at the best shape of his whole career. So, what does this mean for Fedor? Well, it means you got one hell of a hill to climb. Fedor, on the other hand, who a lot of people could consider the GOAT of the heavyweight division, he's a legendary MMA fighter. I do advise you to go ahead and watch some of the old Pride videos. The Kevin Randleman fight comes to mind. Also, the Crow Cop fight, Mark Coleman. You can go through a list of them. All great fights. Definitely worth the watch. If you've recently gotten MMA and you want to know more about the fights of the past, the Pride fights in general are good to watch, but the Fedor ones really set in stone of what a lot of MMA fans still hold dear as the greatest time in MMA, the golden age of MMA. So Fedor, he comes out of retirement, goes to Bellator, loses to Matt during the first fight, Matt Mitrione. That's his first fight out of retirement. And then they throw on this Grand Prix thing. He says, I'll be in it. He goes to the Grand Prix. He fights Frank Mir right off the bat. KOs him. Bam. Frank crumbles, gets on top of him. A couple shots here and there, and they stop it. Then he fights Chael Sonnen, who talked a bunch of shit before going into that fight. Bunch of shit. But that's what Chael does. He talks so people will watch. He's really good at that. He's probably one of the better ones to do it. Now, think about this. During the fight, the experience of Fedor really impressed me. It really showed. Now he has this amount of experience that not a lot of people do. He's sitting at like 40-something fights. He's been fighting since the mid-2000s, maybe a little earlier than that. And he is an absolute destroyer. He's got all this power, but it shows he's not lacking in technique. He still isn't. You know, you would hope that after this long of a career, he'd be able to do everything, not just rely on his power. And he shows that. See, he hits Chael in the first round with his monster right. Chael goes down, and Fedor didn't just jump into his guard and try to ground him. He took a second, took a breath, then he jumped into it. He wasn't trying to just bulldoze himself into it, which was pretty impressive considering the fact that he was probably looking to finish right there. So it shows that he knows what he's doing. He's not just jumping into it. So going into this one, you essentially have an MMA legend versus a guy in his prime. So who's going to get this? That's the question. That's the question we have to ask. Who's going to come out on top this Saturday? Will it be the guy moving up in weight, the guy who has something to prove, the guy that everyone has really doubted in the UFC? He never got a fair shot, in my opinion. I can go through all this. Or the MMA legend who has came back. This is a underdog story from that angle, if you want to call it that. This is a rise of a phoenix, if you want to put it in that terms. And to tell you the truth, I can't decide. It's so hard to decide between these two fighters. Like, I'm a fan of Ryan Bader, and I wish him the best. All right? If he wins this one, he becomes the first Bellator double champ, as far as I know. There's no one else that's been a double champ before. And, there's probably a couple people who can do it, but there's no really tries. I think Roy McDonald might have tried. He's entered that tournament. The recent tournament. I think it's welterweight or middleweight, whatever it was. The weight class he's not champion. He entered the one I think above it, and which is a good try, but he ended up losing against Musasi. So that's the only person I think has tried it, and they failed. So yeah, Ryan Bader would become the first double champ or champ, whatever you want to call it. So that's a great hurdle. But it's hard to get there. And if Ryan Bader does it, he goes down in Bellator history as the first double champ. If you look at Fedor, he's a Pride legend. He fought in Strikeforce. He fought in Affliction, if you want to call it that. A lot of people thought he was going to go to UFC for a while, didn't do it, stayed retired. And then finally he pops up in some promotion in Japan. I think it was Ryzen, not 100% on that Haslittl fight. A lot of like, oh, he won, he didn't win type of thing. Comes to Bellator, loses, and then this is his rise. This is the like, oh, he still has it type of a moment in this heavyweight tournament. So will he be able to do it? And honestly, out of everybody who ended up being his opponent, Ryan Bader was probably the best one as far as getting an actual show out of it, getting a good fight. It would have been interesting if, say, Chael Sonnen was able to do it, but we saw that at the semifinals. They were on that same side of the bracket, so we got that fight. That wasn't going to be interesting against Fedor. I think out of everybody on Ryan Bader's side of the bracket that could have gone against Fedor, really, I can't tell you who would have been more interesting besides Ryan Bader. We've got the two best people in the entire heavyweight division, and even in the most interesting matchup in the heavyweight bracket to be in that finals. We've got the mix of it. We have the best two people to fight out of that bracket. And everybody you could have picked before the tournament actually started, those were the two top people that I thought would make it that far. I think that's pretty amazing that they did. And I'm not sleeping on this card. This card is going to be pretty damn good. This card is going to be something that is going to be memorable in Bellator. And if this is the type of show that Bellator is going forward with, then I have no problem pushing them. I have no problem watching them more and more. And there's a reason behind it because of this quality. They have failed off in the past. They have fallen off in the past, but I think they're on the rise too. I don't think they're ever going to overtake UFC. And I don't think that if ONE FC pushed really hard into North America like they're planning on doing, I don't think they'll have much of a competition with Bellator because they have so much backing one championship, but I think Bellator will have a competition as far as the talent-wise because they have recognizable names. And this is the first step this year. And this is the first step this year that I see them going in a great direction. And I want more of this. I want more of this tournament style. I know we get it with the PFL, and you get seasons and things like that with it. And they do this whole point thing, if you don't know, which is actually pretty good. But I think going forward, besides this tournament, if they keep doing tournaments, which they've already announced, which was good, I think it'd be great for just MMA in general to get back to that tournament standpoint, because it's kind of like, oh, you're putting these people on the line? Okay, cool, let's go do that. Let's see how this goes. If you're going to enter a tournament and put everything on the line, like, hey, there's a chance I can win millions of dollars. There's not only this, like, storybook to it. There's not only this whole, storybook tale of an underdog who's got, like, one last chance. So he has to do this for that chance. And he goes and he makes the money when, like, he has to have $35,000 to pay off a rent of something. It's a movie thing with a tournament, and I think you can capture a lot of people's imaginations with it, and I like that. I hope Bellator does more of that. But back to this, the finals of this heavyweight tournament, I don't know who to pick between the two. I hope the best for both of them. You can tell me in the comments if you like, or hit me up on Twitter. I would like Fedor to end up on top, because he did say he was going to he's probably going to retire. He's thinking about retiring. So there's no certainty that he is, but I mean, if you're going to retire, you might as well want to do it on top. And Bader, if you're going to continue your career, it's pretty nice to put your resume down as the first double champ, It's going to be a good fight. I like this card. The undercard is going to be pretty good too. I definitely, advise you to go watch the undercard. But, it could go one of two ways. I don't see it being bad in either way for the main event. Thank you guys for listening. This is just a very quick breakdown of the main event for Bellator. Not getting too much detail on the entire card. I do thank you guys. You guys are awesome. If you want to follow us, make sure to like, share, subscribe, whatever you want to do. If you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at HookedJP. My co-host, who isn't here today, he's at HookedJustin. Either way, we're both okay dudes. All right, I'm a little bit better, but he's not here to defend himself, so I'm not going to brag. But it is what it is, I do appreciate you guys listening. This is just a quick breakdown. I know it's a small video, but thanks, guys. I really do appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Hook J Podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next episode.
Sometimes you've got to do what's right for you and not do what's right for everybody else.